My name is Noah Weatherton. I am the research assistant for the Doorway Project, and I feel fortunate to be able to see this project develop and grow since some of its earliest stages.
Moving here from Wisconsin, how is young adult homelessness different from where you are from?
Young adult homelessness isn't nearly as prevalent, and I also think a lot of the difference has to do with the cost of living being about half of what it is around here. This sounds naive, maybe, but the wealth inequality here is astounding to me. And while it's happening everywhere, Seattle is such an exaggerated example that it can feel unreal sometimes. Since moving here, I've started to think of Seattle as a time warp into the future in some of the best and worst ways possible. Seattle and King counties seem to have changed so quickly here in the last 20 years that vulnerable communities have been rocked back on their heels and are fighting for their very existence. The bright side of living in Seattle is that people in both communities and the government are trying innovative solutions because the status quo is clearly causing such severe harm to so many people.
What common themes do you find when talking to young adults about their needs?
The first theme that comes to mind is that people express the need to be seen for who they are. People want to have their unique experience valued and they want to have their voices heard. I've seen people get so excited when we ask them what they would put in a community cafe. People like to imagine a space where they can be themselves and not be on edge, or fear that their stuff is going to get stolen. On a more concrete level, I've heard that people have a difficult time with aging out of certain services. That specific issue is something that is hard to grapple with, but it's important to see what could be done. I don't yet know enough about it, but I want to help facilitate a conversation with those who do. And the last theme that comes to mind is how service providers are making spaces for people of color and queer young adults experiencing homelessness. I think any project that wants to make a difference needs to prioritize this. Especially at the planning phase of this project, we need to center the experiences and voices of people who are hardest impacted.
How does this correlate now with what you're studying in the School of Nursing?
In the DNP program, I'm focusing on the psychiatric mental health track. Like I had mentioned before, homelessness takes a huge toll on anyone's mental health in so many ways. People are regularly harassed, invisibilized, made to feel worthless, and made to feel unsafe. Especially for youth and young adults who may not have had any long-term stability in their lives, this can have a huge effect on their identity, on relationships, and how they interact with their world in general. So I think that any honest approach can't really separate the two. One of the unexpected ways I've seen this project tie in with my program is advocating for policy and legislative change. Working with Health Equity Circle and people like Nancy Amade has really opened my eyes to a new way of making change. It's of course helpful when the politicians in power are sympathetic to the cause. And like I said before, that's something that's pretty new to me.
How do you feel that this project can impact the community of homeless youth and young adults?
So with this project, I think there's an opportunity to really examine what models do and don't work. I've seen us asking important, fundamental questions with open ears, and my hope is that this approach will lead to effective, deeply rooted solutions that can begin to better support youth and young adults on their path out of homelessness and housing instability. Building a project like this really takes focused planning, close attention to changing conditions, community support, dedicated legwork, and clear leadership. I'm looking forward to seeing the collaboration unfold because I don't think anyone knows yet what it will end up looking like. It's like, okay, let's bring in all these different minds and experiences and see what happens. To me, that's a really exciting artistic process that starts with community.